Thank you for listening to this podcast from TRE, Talk Radio Europe, your voice in Spain and around the world. For more information, please visit tre.radio.
TRE in the afternoon. Presented by Hannah Murray.
Good afternoon. It's just coming up to 5:10 and you are listening to Women Talk. With me in the studio today, Holly Doyle, Fiona Poole and Leslie Duchera. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I think we need to start by singing Happy Birthday because it's Leslie's birthday today. So after three, ladies, 1, 2, 3.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Leslie. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you very much. And what lovely harmonies.
It's like we're in a choir, isn't it?
Funny.
Right, so the first article, I thought I'd ease you in gently with biscuits. How do you eat your biscuits? Apparently, it says so much about who you are. Researchers have found that 83% of adults favour dunking when eating a chocolate digestive. But the techniques apparently vary across the generations. Some people break their biscuits in half before they eat it. Some will slowly nibble their biscuit around the edges and work their way inwards. So yeah, how do you eat your biscuits?
I think you found one of my favourite ever subjects, Hannah, to start with.
Good.
Biscuits. Now, it all depends.
Very complicated, obviously.
On what type of biscuit and how much time you've got. If we're talking feet up with a cup of tea, and then your biscuit is just a digestive, that is a dunker for me. Mm-hmm. But if there's layers of biscuits with cream inside or chocolate round it, or might come in twos in a packet, you're talking a good hour. That chocolate needs to be nibbled all round the edge.
You're a nibbler.
The two bits of the outside the cream has to be taken apart. Then you've got two biscuits, and each of the two biscuits get nibbled. About an hour.
Brilliant. So you savour the experience.
I do savour the experience because then because it's over too quickly.
Does it stop you from eating more of them? Because that can be the problem with biscuits, that you just keep going and going. But if it takes you an hour to eat one, you're not gonna eat loads then, are you? Otherwise, that would be like a day of eating biscuits.
I think I'm supposed to say yes to the answer to that question. That's why I only ever eat one biscuit. Because let's face it, ladies, who only eats one biscuit?
Not me. No.
When you open a packet, who eats one biscuit?
No, I don't think that's possible, is it?
Or one finger of Kit Kat.
Yeah, can you imagine? One finger and then put the rest in the fridge?
No.
I don't think so.
Impossible.
No, it is impossible, isn't it?
So how many fingers is socially acceptable, Leslie?
All of them.
Thank you, Anna.
So the secret there is just buy the 2-finger bars rather than the 4-finger bars.
Ah, yes, that is good. Yeah, because if you buy 4, you eat 4.
Yes, you would.
So yeah, much safer having the 2 fingers.
I'm not a big dunker because I'm not a big tea and coffee drinker, so left to my own devices, I don't make lots of teas and coffees during the day. So however, the golden rule, I would never dunk something with chocolate on it.
Really?
No.
I love dunking the chocolate.
No, and nothing too crumbly. So a rich tea would be acceptable.
Yeah.
But a digestive, no.
Oh, interesting. I love dunking biscuits that have got a chocolate outing on it because it melts the chocolate.
Yeah.
So when you put it in your mouth, you've got the melted chocolate. You're shaking your head, Fiona, no?
What a waste of chocolate.
Really?
That chocolate has to be nibbled. You have to make the chocolate last. And then you've got the biscuit underneath.
Okay.
And you can dunk the biscuit. It's a feast.
How annoying is it, though, when you dunk a biscuit and then it drops into the tea and coffee? That's a sad day, isn't it?
Because that spoiled both your biscuit and your tea.
Yes, absolutely.
It's over.
Yes.
And you can't drink all of your tea and coffee because you know at the bottom there's like
you're going to get all
biscuity,
soggy crumb bits.
Yes.
I like it. I've got into herbal tea more and more recently, and you can't dunk a biscuit in herbal tea. That doesn't work at all.
No.
So it's a good way of actually having less biscuits, because I kind of feel like it doesn't go, because I'm having a herbal tea and I'm thinking, yep, that's healthy, that's good. So you kind of think, you're sort of not in the mood for biscuits with the herbal tea. So it's a good kind of health tip going down there.
Here's a question for you. Does a Jaffa cake count as a biscuit?
Oh, see,
I'm glad we're covering the really serious issues of the day, Hannah.
Well, there was a court case, wasn't there? I mean, there was a legal kind of thing. Was it decided that it was a cake?
It was a cake.
Yeah, because of the sponginess.
So that doesn't count then. You can have as many of those as you like.
I don't like dunking a Jaffa cake though, because it makes the sponge just kind of wet.
Yes.
That doesn't work at all.
No. And I was a bit disappointed, Leslie, today when you started dunking your birthday cake into your tea. I thought that was a bit extreme.
It's funny, this article talking about breaking biscuits, because depending on the size of a mug, because this can get quite scientific, of course, you can have big chunky mugs, or you can have the more thin ladylike mugs, and we've got a selection, I guess, at home. So sometimes you can't dunk a biscuit, digestive size biscuit, into the thinner mugs. So in that instance, I would break the biscuit so it gives me more room to dunk, because there's nothing. It's very annoying if you dunk a biscuit and it barely touches the side of the biscuit.
Then you're forced to do the round the edge nibble.
Yeah, that's true.
If you did that.
Yeah. Okay, 20 minutes on biscuits, or should we stop there?
Next subject.
So we've heard of the vinyl revival, obviously. That sort of came back and went and came back again. But now there's a cassette comeback, I read this week. But for anyone who remembers using a pencil to painstakingly rewind an unspooled cassette tape, news of their comeback may come as a surprise. I thought it would be interesting just to ask you if anyone, A, still has cassette tapes in their house, and B, if you have something to play the cassette tape on, and do you listen to cassettes? You do, Holly?
Yeah, I do.
Really?
I do
That's
still
cool.
have that. I used to love speaking into it, singing into it, dancing and pressing pause, pressing play, and just recording and editing with my friends, and I have all of those still. I've kept them, and I've kept the cassette player so I can play it as well. It's really
brilliant.
cute.
Oh, that's so nice. So you listen back and reminisce.
And it's something to show my children and their children. It's just nostalgic.
Yeah, definitely. I remember recording the songs that you liked on the top 40.
Yeah.
I remember listening on the radio, and I'm kind of there with the finger ready, because I didn't want to record songs I didn't like. So you're there ready, waiting to hear what songs in what position, ready to press the record button. So then you've got that song on tape. I remember doing that a lot.
Definitely. And the trick there was to finish recording before the DJ came back in, wasn't it?
That was hard.
That was an art.
Yeah.
That was a definite art.
Yeah. Because they'd start talking before the song had completely finished.
Yes.
And you're like, I'm talking across the good bit. Yeah.
Spoilt it. But I do remember, like you, Holly, I did have the microphone and the little portable cassette recorder for Christmas, and going around and recording your nan and everyone. And you've still got those lovely cassettes,
nice.
haven't you? Yeah, I've still got them, but I've got nothing to play them on at the moment.
That's the thing.
Well, if they're coming back, then we'll have something to play them in.
Mm-hmm. They're really expensive a lot of the time when they bring back these retro things. You can't always get them on. I was looking for a dictaphone the other day, because we found lots of old, the really small cassettes. Couldn't find it on things like Amazon, modern sites, and found them on sites like eBay and other things like that. And they were hundreds, thousands sometimes. Ridiculous money, even second-hand ones, because they're seen as kind of vintage and nostalgic, and ridiculous money.
It's quite interesting how vinyl has come back, and records have come back, and that's quite fashionable at the moment, isn't it? To have LPs again, and I've still got my deck that plays the LPs. I've still got all my records, and
do you listen to them?
No, isn't that so? I look at them. They're like books. I don't open them. They're there on the shelf.
Yeah.
And I love them. But no, I'd have my iPad, or I just put, a music system on. And you find the same record. I've got it in record format. I've got it in DVD. I've got it on iPlayer. I've got it in the car. But I've bought it about 12 times, and it's the same record.
Yeah.
But no, I never play my records. I should do, shouldn't I?
Well, I mean, that's the thing. It's how we listen to music. I love my CD collection, but I haven't listened to CDs for years. But I'm so reluctant to get rid of them. But if you're listening to music digitally, then you get. I don't say you have to, but at some point you're going to go, okay, do I need cassettes? Do I need vinyl? Do I need CDs? They all take up a lot of room, especially if you've got the same albums in each of the formats. And we're trying to live a more kind of decluttered world. So therefore, how long do we keep hold of so many things that we're not using?
How many versions of ABBA do you need in your life?
Exactly. That's a good question. Yes. I forgot to say this, by the way. If you're listening at home and you would like to get involved, you're more than welcome to. Here's how.
To contact TRE, please call 952 78 4000. Email studio@tre.radio. Send us a WhatsApp on +34 645 99 67 95.
What a beautiful day. It's a wonderful life.
Okay, recycling. There's an article here, how to recycle absolutely everything. And you can recycle quite a lot of things. I mean, this article's obviously it's UK based, so a lot of the places they're talking about where you can go to recycle certain things wouldn't necessarily be possible here. But I thought it was an interesting topic, just to kind of ask you, not wanting to shame you or anything, so please don't feel bad or guilty if you're not recycling as much or anything as you feel you should. But I just thought, it was an interesting one to see how much recycling we do and maybe encourage each other to do more if we can.
Well, as I think the only UK current resident, my pet hate, I can't bear it. Where I live, I have a big bin for garden waste. I have a big bin for what they call residual waste, which is collected once every 3 weeks. And I have a weekly collection for recycling, which is a stack of 3 boxes. One for glass, one for plastics and tin, and one for cardboard and paper, plus a separate food bin.
Wow, that's a lot. And that was supplied to you?
Yes, you have to buy the bins initially, but if they get blown away, which they frequently do where I happen to live on the west coast of Scotland, they will replace them free, or if they get damaged. But I hate it. I absolutely hate it.
It sounds like a lot of work.
Particularly the food waste, because they give you a small bin for the kitchen and a bigger bin outside. But I don't have that much food waste because it's just me in the house.
You eat the biscuits.
And I eat all the biscuits. So the paper of the wrapper can be recycled. But I can't bear it. I do it. And once I think I'd missed the food waste thing, so I chucked some old stuff that was, languishing and growing mould in the fridge. I thought I'll just put that in the residual bin, which they're collecting tomorrow. That's everything else that you can't recycle. And the bin man left me a note saying...
You got into trouble.
And I'm thinking, are you rifling through my big bags?
Yeah.
Or my bags are white, so they're a bit see-through. I'm going, so did they spot that old cucumber or a couple of old apples? Or, so you can imagine, it's so
really
infuriating.
Hot on it in the UK,
my council particularly seems to be.
Interesting. See, I mean, I guess that's a good thing. I know it's annoying, but if we're trying to be more green, we want to look after the planet. This is obviously something that we can all be doing. So the fact that all of that is in place, in the UK, as annoying as it can be, is fantastic. We certainly don't have that in Spain. You know, if you don't recycle, you don't recycle. You have the option of putting all your waste into the bin and chucking it in the rubbish.
Yeah.
And obviously some people will do that. But there are recycling bins, you know, where the rubbish bins are.
Yes, the big
there's
bins,
one for
yeah.
plastic, there's one for paper, and there's one for glass. So they're the things that we recycle in our house. We have a box for glass bottles and jars and things, one for paper and one for plastic. So
Yes.
we kind of do that.
It was a complete change because I've been in Spain now 5 years, and we're used to doing our food, and now we don't. Now we throw food away, and I felt uncomfortable actually because I quite happily recycled food because it went to all the animals. It went somewhere.
Yeah,
it was
exactly.
used, and I felt good about that. Now, you know, even your extra. Now I feel bad. Now it's just all in one bin.
It is a
we do our
shame.
bottles. And that's it. What I do like in Spain, though, is that you're responsible to take your rubbish to the big skips, aren't you, at the top of your road, usually, and then they're collected very regularly, not like in
Once a week.
England. It's like sometimes 2
fortnight,
weeks.
yeah.
And the rubbish is very well managed here in Spain, but I would like to see a bit more recycling. I'm a bit of a fan.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, it's a good thing to do. Do you recycle anything? Does anyone recycle anything other than the things we've mentioned?
I do some electrical stuff, so other things like that you can, you know, I think this is after all the COVID thing, you book a slot to go to the local dump and you can take almost anything there. So I had some old electrical, I had a couple of old printers and things like that, and an old kettle, something along those lines, and I had a 15-minute slot, so I thought that was very efficient, and they do all different little places to drop it in the dump. So that worked
fantastic.
well.
We've got a caller on the line. You're on TRE. Good afternoon.
Hey, Hannah, good afternoon.
Hi.
It's Mark. How you doing?
Hi, Mark. Good, thanks. How are you?
Very good. I'm good. I'm just listening to your conversation about recycling. And as much as you're quite right, we do have the bins, the grey bin, the blue bin, the yellow bin, and the green bin. It seems as though people have a real problem with actually filling it with the correct items, because not least garden waste, you know, your clippings from your hedge or whatever, just seems to get put into one of the bins, and it's got a big sign usually saying, please don't put any of those things in there. And I just think that we're all starting to, as much as we've got that moment where we're conscious that we should be doing some recycling, we should be doing it in an orderly manner, it seems as though people just don't really care.
Yeah.
And I'm interested to hear your lady who's based in Scotland, but in fact in the UK it appears as though you now are at risk of some form of sanction if you don't do it correctly. And all I'm really calling up to say is that every time I go to the bins, apart from the most irritating glass bin where you have to jam a bottle into the roof of the bin to be able to get the damn thing open to put anything more than one in, it becomes more than a bit irritating. But I really appreciate everybody just evangelizing a little bit about doing it properly.
Oh, definitely. Thank you, Mark. That's a very good point.
Alrighty, bye.
Thanks for your call. Bye-bye. Yeah, it's true, isn't it? Why can't people take a bit of extra care? It's quite obvious what is supposed to go in each of the bins.
Yes.
It's not big and it's not clever to put things in the wrong bin.
Yes.
I mean, it's either laziness or ignorance, or people just thinking it's funny and just like not caring and being stupid.
But also I was thinking about cars. Where do people put their car that they don't use anymore apart from the side of the road? They keep putting them on the side of the road and they're just there for months. And they don't even get moved. In the UK, they tow them away, don't they?
Yeah, they can be here for a long time, can't they?
Yeah.
So, Holly, how many cars do you have that you don't use?
Sitting
Some,
around.
and you've got spare cars.
I've got quite a few cars.
Have you? I've got one.
I need to recycle my car. First world problems. So, we haven't taken any breaks, have we? We've been chatting away.
Hannah Murray on TRE in the afternoon.
Good afternoon. You're listening to Women Talk. With me in the studio today, Holly Doyle, Fiona Poole and Leslie Duchera. There's an article here talking about West End shows becoming like the Wild West. This has been a big story in the last few weeks or so, with people being thrown out of theatres because of drunken behaviour, people heckling, people singing along when watching a musical, fighting as well. So I just thought it was an interesting subject to talk about, kind of theatre etiquette, what people would expect when going to the theatre. Are people allowed to have fun, or do people just need to keep quiet and watch what they're watching on stage, do you think?
I feel that there is an etiquette, yes, and I've not actually witnessed anyone behaving badly in the theatre, but yeah, I think there is an etiquette, and I'm not sure how it's managed, but I've not got the solution to that. But it would be nice if people could relax in the theatre and not think there's going to be an issue or worry about their safety.
Yeah, I find it very annoying when people are talking. You know, when you're trying to watch something, you've paid money to watch something, whether it's a play, a musical, or whatever. It's slightly different at a concert because it's really loud, isn't it? So when you've got people talking, it doesn't always distract because the music's so loud. But in a theatre, when it's much quieter and you really want to be listening and watching when people are talking, I've said to people before, shh, you know, can you be quiet please?
Yes. And
people can get very offended, you know, very difficult. I was told off once for a group of us were at the theatre, and it was a musical, and at the end of a musical number, it's normal to clap, you know, and when the lights go off and there's a scene change, and everybody was clapping, and me and some friends knew the people on stage, so we're supporting them, and we were whooping after songs, you know, been particularly good, woo, that kind of thing, along with our clapping. And people in front were turning around saying, could you please? And were telling us off for whooping, which we thought was really odd.
Very
we thought,
odd.
well, I know from personal experience, if I was the people on stage, everyone loves a whoop, don't they? So I think that was fine.
Very good. I mean, like you, I've done some performing on stage quite recently, and from the stage out, you hear every noise in the theatre. You're aware of coughs and splutters, the occasional mobile phone goes, but the most off-putting thing, if you're on stage, is to hear a human voice.
Yeah.
And to say anything, to shout anything, you hear it straight away, and it does put you out of your stride as well.
Because you think, why are they talking? They're obviously not enjoying it, or having a chat, or it's really disrespectful.
Whooping, I would love. That would be absolutely great. A whoop, if people are singing, if people are joining in and clap, that's fantastic feedback from the stage. But if you shout out, you know, we had a pantomime recently, Cinderella pantomime, which is, you know, got kids and everything, so we got used to lots of shout outs. But there was one person in particular, whenever Cinderella wasn't on stage, he just shouted out, "Get Cinderella! We want Cinderella!" It was very off-putting. And he was tapped on the shoulder and asked to leave. And I think it's the tap on the shoulder and the how you ask people to be quiet that can either go one way or another. They accept it and quieten down, or, especially if there's alcohol involved, they start to say no. And the one that we saw recently in the paper, she just refused to quieten down, and we've seen pictures of it on social media, and they literally had to get 4 or 5 security guards to manhandle her out of the theatre, and that stopped the whole production. Everything came up. That's not acceptable.
And what made it even worse was she couldn't sing.
Yes.
Gosh,
I mean, if she was in tune with the person belting out the key song of the whole show, but she was flat, she was loud, it was horrible. I did see
she was aggressive as well, though. She got quite
she did get very aggressive.
See, I don't think people should sing along to musicals unless, you know, a pantomime's slightly different because a lot of it is about audience participation. So if you've got someone, you know, and sometimes that specifically happens in a pantomime, this is for the audience, everyone join in, and you're encouraged to sing along. Obviously, that's fine. But if I was watching a musical, I would not want, and often you know the songs and you love the songs, and in a normal situation, if you're listening to the song in your car, you'd be singing along. But I don't think it's appropriate to sing along.
Definitely
you want to listen to the person singing on stage. I'd be really annoyed if I was sitting next to a stranger and they were singing. I'd say something. I would say, excuse me, I want to listen to them.
Yes,
definitely.
That's what she did, wasn't it? And she was
she was just singing. She was asked and got very aggressive. I think there was 3 or 4 of them together, and they were all digging their heels in, not keeping quiet, and B, fighting against being
It's a fine line,
rejected.
though, between letting people enjoy and be part of the show and let themselves go and just being overbearing for everyone else sitting around them. And I think that's the line, isn't it, not to cross.
But it's interesting in theatre, I think, because, well, a musical, fine, that is, you can understand why somebody might feel they want to do that. But the other thing is in a more drama scenario, and if people start talking or eating, rustling papers and all that, wrappers and this, and particularly when people are really focusing, concentrating, getting very involved in the story, and that completely breaks the magic of the theatre, of the whole event. And I think that can be very off-putting as well.
Yeah, I think like the host should set the tone and the rules at the beginning. Like everyone, please don't interrupt the performance. No singing, no heckling, and please no rustling.
Yeah, that's true, because there's normally an announcement at the beginning of a show with somebody saying, no mobile phones, please make sure your phones are switched off, and inevitably that can happen so often, and it's always like, oh, didn't you hear the announcement? But yeah, they could add more to it, couldn't they? Please don't join in. If it's happened before and you're worried about it happening again, then add it to the list of rules. Yeah, exactly. Definitely. They're talking about the fact that, should drunk people be stopped and not able to come in and watch the show? I think that's a very tricky one.
It is, because not all drunk people are going to behave like that.
Exactly. How do you decide if someone can't walk and is visibly completely out of it, then yeah, I get that. I think that's they shouldn't be going to the theatre in that kind of state. But if someone's just had a few drinks, you wouldn't really know. I mean, I think that's a very difficult one to police and make the rule
Very
on,
difficult.
isn't it?
And then the police, who are going to police that? Because normally you just have volunteers who are ushers,
exactly.
and they're not actually built or trained to be full security guards.
No, absolutely, that's true.
It's a difficult one, that one.
Very much so. Okay, we'll better take another break.
Hannah Murray, TRE in the afternoon.
Good afternoon. You're listening to Women Talk with me in the studio today, Holly Doyle, Fiona Poole and Leslie Duchera. I've had a message from Max who says, regarding the bins, some people can't even be bothered to open the bin lid. They just dump their rubbish bags beside or on top, loosely and untied usually. Yes, that's really annoying, isn't it? That's just damn laziness, isn't it?
And unhygienic.
Yeah, they don't care to follow any rules. As for bigger junk, well, fly tipping is on the increase, plus graffiti never stops. Oh well. Yeah, lots of things, isn't there? Okay, so moving on to, this is a really interesting subject. I thought this was a fascinating one. Age. So the headline is 62 and feeling youthful? Sorry, you're officially a fuddy-duddy. It says, if 60 is the new 40, someone needs to tell young people. Research shows that being treated as an old person starts at the average age of 62. A survey of more than 3,000 people asked over 65s when people started treating them like an older person. The average age for this was 62, with a fifth of people saying it started in their 50s. I don't like the expression old people for a start.
Not at all.
No.
Really, really don't.
And what does that behaviour mean, old people? I'm just thinking about it. I find that when I talk, I'm going to call them young people. Okay, that's probably the wrong expression. But there is a language difference nowadays. I find that my references and my history and my views and my conversation, if you're talking to 20-year-olds or below, sometimes they don't know what you're talking about. They don't know, if you're talking about cassette recorders or you're talking about things that aren't in the world. I find nowadays, as I'm getting older and I'm in this age bracket that you're talking about, I do feel very distant from them. I'm not surrounded by teenagers and 20-year-olds. So I have to tune in. And then when I listen to 20-year-olds talking to each other, I can't understand a word they're saying. They talk very fast. They use what we would call slang and shorter words. So there is a language barrier. That's all I don't think and that's all. I find them being politer with me, but I think it's to talk to the old fuddy-duddy Fiona, really.
Oh... You're not an old fuddy-duddy at all.
No, I didn't mean to get that for an R, Hannah. That was just... it's language. It's different.
Yeah.
Different.
I think it's really important to shape our language and teach the youngsters how to speak to older people, but to have that respect that a woman might feel young, so it's not cool to call an old person because it's kind of labelling and it's limiting on what they can perceive from an older person. But yeah, for my mum, for example, I've always said to her, you're young, and she is young. She's young at heart, and she's still a DJ. She's in her 60s. But yeah, I just love that women are becoming younger, and they're more interested in drinking from the fountain of youth and being interested in how they can keep young and how they can get involved more with the younger people as well. And there's not, from like 20 and above, I don't think there's much of a gap between 30 and 60 or 70. I think they are jamming more together. There is a bit more synergy now. And I think it's more positive for women, if anything. I think this old things like old hat, I think it's actually dying out, so I'm not sure if I agree with the article. I think things are on a big change for women, women empowerment.
Yeah, that's good. I remember, my mum always used to say, I'm not old, am I? You know, she hated the expression. She never liked to think of herself as being old, and she was sort of mortified that other people would think of her as being old. And I suppose she might have said that, I don't know, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, something like that. And I remember thinking, I don't think it's right to refer to people as being an old person. And I've kind of never forgotten that. And there's a podcast that I listen to, which I love, two women that are really, really funny. And they're both one's in her mid 30s and another one's just turned 40. And they're constantly talking about old people. And they're often saying nice things. They're not being disrespectful, but they just keep using the phrase old. I saw this really, really a lovely old man the other day. And I cringe every time I hear it. I think they shouldn't be saying old people, because I just don't think it's very nice. It's kind of putting people into a box, suggesting that I don't know. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, before they could be in their prime, because
absolutely,
they're the most interesting people to talk to, older people.
Definitely. And there are plenty of people out here that are still playing golf in their 80s and everything. That, you know, it's amazing.
Absolutely. And I remember when my mum was probably in her late 60s, and we had a talk about this, and she said, inside I feel I'm about 27. And actually I can relate to that, because I think we all kind of have whether it was our, best era or whatever it is. But the other thing that gets me is that people, occasionally you'll see maybe an obituary or something about an older person, 80, 90 odd, and they give you their life history and the obituary. And one of my friends, it was my dad's friend that he used to work with, died recently. He's just came up for 101, and today is his Thanksgiving service. But he was a Spitfire pilot, and his Spitfire hangs in the Kelvingrove Museum in Glasgow. So if anyone's ever been there, that was his Spitfire. And he's only just gone.
Yeah.
And you kind of, and the life that he had was incredible, and the things that he did. And, when we just see there's an old man, and this is not just him, but all the old men, old ladies, whatever, that we see, we have no idea what they've accomplished in their lives and the contribution that they've made.
Absolutely.
And so when younger people just see there's an old person with grey hair, and what do they know about life?
They know
a lot.
They absolutely
They've done it. They've lived it.
Exactly.
I had these amazing neighbours where I used to live in Nagueles, and one was Canadian, and the other her husband was Canadian, and she was from Holland. And she was 82 when she met him. and they were together 20 years.
Wow.
And then recently he's passed away, and she's like, 20 years wasn't enough. And they're just really good fun. They would be walking to the pool every day, so my boys would see them. They're gorgeous people walking to the pool with these woggles on and their bathers on, and they'd be in the pool every single day without fail.
Wonderful.
Doing their laps and just giggling all the time. They're just always having the best time. It's like
lovely.
You couldn't make this stuff up. It's like a Cocoon.
Yeah.
And I was like, what a nice image for my children to see, older people, so they'll never ever think it's unattainable to be friends with these older people, and they'll see them in a different light, because look at that.
That's so lovely.
What a nice image.
Yeah. Older people should be looked up to, respect to, and spoken to all the time. We're all going to get there at the end of the day. There's no point having a us and them attitude, because we'll all be them at some point, and we will want younger people to treat us with respect, and no one wants to feel like they're a less important member of society at all. So, treat people as you expect to be treated yourself.
Absolutely.
Yes. Okay. We'll have another break there, I think.
Hannah Murray, TRE in the afternoon.
Good afternoon. You're listening to the last part of today's Women Talk. With me in the studio, Holly Doyle, Fiona Poole and Leslie Duchera. There's an article here written by Steph and Dom Parker, who found fame on Gogglebox. Doesn't matter if you don't know who they are. It was just an interesting subject that they're talking about. The headline reads, "A disabled son, serious financial turmoil and a brush with death after pneumonia. TV's Steph and Dom have weathered many storms. Now, on their 25th wedding anniversary, they reveal their golden rules." It says, "Want to stay married? Never even joke about divorce." There's lots of kind of tips that they give in the article, which I thought was an interesting one to talk about. One of the things is choose compromise over pride. Compromise, it's an important one, isn't it? Definitely.
Yes, definitely.
Thank you.
That was
Why are you looking at me?
yes, compromise as long as I get my way. No, not at all. Not at all.
Yes. Well, it's true, isn't it? I mean, in any kind of relationship, friendship or colleagues at work or whatever you're doing, there has to be kind of compromise to make it work, because inevitably you'll come into situations where you have a complete difference of opinion on things, whether it's what to watch on television, where to go on holiday, where to go for dinner, what clothes to wear when going out, all kinds of things, however big or small. So you can't always demand to be right, or it's difficult to be with someone who's demanding to be right. You've got to kind of talk about it. And
totally.
compromise.
I mean, there's three areas, isn't there, in a marriage? If you are married, you've got your life, your partner, or in my case, my husband's got his life, and you've got your married life. And the married life is the compromise, and the married life is where we are. But we also allow each other to have our own lives, and we have the respect that's what they want to do, and that's where they want to go, but we still do lots of things together. And I think that's, for me, the word compromise is what's the middle ground? What is it where we're both happy, we both want, and we can both do the same thing? And and he's very good at compromise.
Oh, good. Well, that's very good. Very important. And another one they say here: don't row in public. Yeah, that's not good, is it? It's not a good look.
Horrible.
Not a good look when you see people rowing in public.
But it's very funny to do the polite row in public. Have you seen couples do that? I've done that with my husband as well.
Give us an example.
You're it's mostly looks, because you're saying things like, "Yes, but we won't be going there later." No, we won't be going there later, will we? And he'll say, "Yes, I think I do. I think we should go there." And you've got people around you. And no, I don't think we will go there now, because we've got to go somewhere else. Haven't we, darling? No, darling. I think we should go. It's that sort of route. And then you give your husbands know the look, don't they?
Yes.
Holly, do you give the husband the look?
Absolutely. And I expect him to compromise.
Yes. Yes, yeah, it's true. I've had one of those as well, definitely. And it's funny. It is funny watching other people do it as well, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Good. Sometimes it's good to catch their eye, and sometimes it's not.
Yes, no. Sometimes
you have to judge the situation.
Back away.
Yes.
Back away.
Yes. Another thing they say is say "I love you" every day. This is an interesting one.
Yes.
Everyone feels differently
I
about
like
that.
it as long as it's genuine. I wouldn't like it just said without any meaning. But
Yeah.
I think it is nice to have affection in different ways, not just spoken and physical and all sorts of things, you know, good deeds and all of that. But yeah, I think it's a mixture of all of them for me. But I do like I love yous, yeah.
They talk about love language, don't they? Understanding your love language and your partner's love language, and they can be different. You know, some people, the way they feel loved is by being told, "Oh, you look beautiful, and I love you, and I'm so thankful for you," and you know, it's all words. Other people, it's gifts, it's buying presents and things. Other people, it's doing, you know, making dinner, you know, doing things for them. It can be a physical thing as well, physical touch, and it's a good kind of important, I think, discussion to have with your partner, understanding what means more to you, because you can be doing for your partner what means more for you, thinking, I know I like this, so I'm going to do this for them, and they might not really care about that, and they're thinking, why aren't they doing more of the other thing? So it's good to kind of understand that, make sure you know.
Yeah, you keep giving me little presents, but could you maybe just do the dishes one day? That would be great.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, important discussions. Another thing, which is good advice, ignore other people's marriages. That's definitely a good one. Don't kind of, well, I think they mean like, don't compare yourself, which is a good thing in life. And, you know, don't compare yourself to other people's marriages. Or
you never know what's going on behind closed doors, really. And the comparisonitis, it is a bit of a disease, I think, that goes through everyone's mind, even when we're looking on Facebook and seeing other parents in the yard. For example, I'm at a lower school. There's such a variety of parents, and I do compare myself. I'm like, wow, they've got a Ferrari. Wow, they haven't got a Ferrari, and then what are they doing? I'm like, I'm in the middle, and that feels comfortable, you know. But yeah, it is that comparison.
You're back to cars again, Holly.
Yeah,
this is your spare car that you dump on the side of the road.
Add to your fleet. Yes.
But I also think in relationships, there's nothing that's going to create resentment more than going, well, so-and-so's husband does this, or so-and-so's wife does that, or their boyfriend, and so
it's not healthy.
It's very unhealthy, isn't it? Because you're instantly comparing them to some other paragon that you've decided is the ideal person.
Yeah.
And that, I think that just belittles people. Everyone's individual. And I think the language thing, actually, that you mentioned is really important, because if people respond to what is said to them rather than action, for example, then they will also take to heart much more if we say the wrong thing. Even though we didn't really mean it in that way, but they take the words to heart. And other people, it's because you forgot to do this, or you didn't do this for me, and that was my expectation. So that I haven't done a thing becomes and so you don't love me interpretation. So.
Yeah, at the end of the day, nobody's perfect, and no relationship is perfect. You know, we all go through things, and if you're pointing out your partner's faults all the time, that's not great. It's much better to point out their plus points. You know, and if you see that your friend's husband does more housework than your husband, or your friend's husband does more cooking than your husband, or whatever, all the different things you can compare people to, instead of kind of thinking, oh, they do more than you, like you said, focus on what they do and what they do bring to the relationship.
And I also think I don't like the word training, but when you're training children or you're training your dog, the general consensus is reward the good behaviour.
Yeah.
Because you want to encourage more of it. And actually, if we all did that in our relationships as well, rather than constantly criticising the things we're not happy with, but gently kind of, this is the stuff that is good.
Yeah, absolutely.
And makes me feel good and makes us happy. I think that's a better way to go than
definitely
don't do that.
So thank you for leaving all your clothes all over the bedroom. Is that what we've got to say?
No, but the one time...
I appreciate your messiness.
No, it's the one time they hang something up.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Let's get the biscuits out.
Yes. I brought your favourite biscuits.
Yes. Another one they say, which I can totally relate to and agree with, laughter is essential.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yes.
If you stop laughing with someone, that's,
yes.
You know, I can't imagine not laughing.
But it's one of the predecessors before, isn't it? Marriage before a permanent relationship. One of the things I think the foundations you've got to have is a similar sense of humour, and or you laugh at the same things, or you find the same comedy or the same tone of words. So if it would be very sad if you get to that final point where you've made your final commitments and then you never sit and laugh at each other. We were talking earlier, weren't we, about you can see couples who've come on holiday abroad and they're sat in the restaurants and they've got nothing to say to each other and they might look at their phones. I think that's incredibly sad that you don't have that conversation. And we all get a bit stuck with our partners. You can't talk about them forever, but surely you've got the same sense of humour before you've committed to a life together.
Yeah. We have under 30 seconds left. Well done, ladies.
Oh, you're getting the biscuits out now, then, Anna.
Exactly. Happy birthday, Leslie. Well
Thank you very much.
Coming on the radio on your birthday. That's
Thank you. I've enjoyed it.
Thank you all for coming on today. Holly Doyle, Fiona Poole and Leslie Duchera. Thank you, ladies. Have a fabulous weekend. I know it's only Thursday, but I don't do Fridays. So enjoy your weekend. And Howard Brereton is coming up after the news with Spain Today.
You've been listening to a TRE production. If you've enjoyed this programme, there'll be another episode waiting for you next week, right here on this platform, where you can also access our extensive back catalogue of shows and interviews. For more information on our live programming, social media channels and apps, and how to contact Talk Radio Europe, please visit tre.radio.